So far, roughly 200,000 federal employees have lost their jobs since the Trump administration began its overhaul of the government's workforce in its effort to cut spending. One of the affected agencies employs cybersecurity experts responsible for protecting our nation's critical infrastructure. We spoke to one federal employee who was fired just 6 months shy of the end of her probationary period. Nicole Sganga has her story.
For Kelly Shaw, unemployment is unfamiliar territory.
I've never been in this situation before. I've never been fired.
After more than a decade as a senior intelligence analyst with the U.S. Navy, Shaw was recruited just over 2 years ago to the nation's top cyber defense agency, CISA.
The goal of it was to find and root out the adversary.
Shaw scoured for cyber criminals in U.S. critical infrastructure, like the nation's power grid, pipelines, and water systems.
Now we see a departure of over 100 CISA employees. What message does that send to China, Russia, Iran, our adversaries, about our readiness?
Yes, they notice. I'm sure they notice that there are less eyes on the target now, which means that they have better opportunity to do these nefarious actions in these networks.
The mission was considered so important, Congress launched a nationwide recruitment program in 2021 to attract the brightest minds to work on it. Shaw was one of the program's first recruits, but it came with a lengthy 3-year probation period.
This should be the last place that we should be cutting this expertise.
Now, more than 130 workers have been cut from CISA, 4% of the Cyber Defense Agency's workforce.
When you look at the facts,
Ranking member of the House Homeland Security Committee, Democrat Benny Thompson, calls the cuts a gift to our foreign adversaries.
that kind of talent, you just don't find it every day. And you have to convince many of those individuals to leave lucrative private sector employment.
They did not look at our performance.
Just weeks before getting fired, CISA granted Shaw a salary bump based on her performance.
I just got the commendable mission impact, and then a month later, I get laid off, fired. So, yeah, that makes no sense. It just makes no sense.
And just yesterday, Rob Joyce, the former NSA cybersecurity director, warned on Capitol Hill that the cuts will have, quote, a devastating impact on cybersecurity and national security. Kelly Shaw tells us that as upsetting as her firing has been, she would return to CISA if asked, and she's actively looking for another way to serve the country. Adriana?
Nicole, thank you so much. I keep thinking about the job market, especially in the D.C. area, where now it's being flooded with people looking for work. It's really tough for everybody
And
involved.
so many who were willing, if they got their old job back, have said, I would go back in a heartbeat despite the firings.